In a sprawling suite overlooking the electric tapestry of Times Square, Leo lowered his camera, questioning if this was really the best approach. Kai, however, remained seated on the plush velvet sofa, an arm draped casually around the man nestled in his lap. He told Leo to just take the pictures and cut the chatter. Leo grumbled about his friend's lack of gratitude, reminding him how wonderful Isabella Sutton was. He couldn't understand why Kai was so determined to torpedo the marriage with such a drastic measure. With a series of sharp clicks from the camera, Kai shifted his pose with the man, demanding a few more shots. His plan was simple. The photos would be messengered to the Sutton family patriarch first thing in the morning. He wanted to see how Ethan would negotiate the lucrative merger with the Suttons when the groom-to-be was exposed. Leo expressed his reservations, pointing out that Ethan was, after all, his brother. Kai scoffed at the word. He, the true-born son, had spent 16 years as an outcast while Ethan, the adopted one, had lived a life of privilege as the esteemed heir of Vance Enterprises. The man in his lap, Julian, chuckled softly. He reminded Kai that his father had left him the entire inheritance, all the shares. Ethan was essentially just a highly paid employee, and Julian questioned what right he had to dictate Kai's personal life. The Vance fortune, he mused, would eventually be Kai's to command. Hearing this, Leo lowered the camera, his expression uneasy. He cautioned Julian to keep such thoughts to himself, that if Ethan ever heard that kind of talk, he'd take him apart. Julian merely smiled, but Kai snorted in defiance, declaring he wasn't afraid of Ethan. Leo shot back that while Kai might not be, the rest of them were. He reminded Kai of Ethan's intimidating presence, a force that silenced any room he entered. Besides, Leo's own family had several ventures pending Ethan's approval. He challenged Kai, suggesting that if he was truly so bold, he should march into the corporate headquarters and fire Ethan himself, take over the company, and let his friends reap the benefits. The bravado vanished from Kai's face. The truth was, for all his rebellion, he was still living on Ethan's dime. Ethan might have been ambitious, but he was also brilliant. He had taken their father's company and elevated it to new heights, a feat Kai knew he couldn't replicate. The thought of Ethan was a constant source of irritation. After his mother left his father while pregnant with him, she had raised him alone, a stubborn woman who never once reached out to the man who had abandoned them. It wasn't until her death that his father, Arthur Vance, had appeared with a paternity test, pulling Kai from a life of obscurity into the opulent world of the Vance family. Ethan, 10 years his senior and a Wharton graduate, was already a rising star in the company. In contrast, Kai was a high school dropout who excelled at little more than brawling and video games. His arrival, purely by blood right, had nullified years of Ethan's hard work and dedication. To compensate for his long absence, Arthur had drafted a will leaving his entire fortune to Kai, a fortune that was originally promised to Ethan. Kai knew Ethan's resentment was justified. It was a miracle he hadn't arranged for Kai to disappear permanently. In the beginning, Ethan's disdain was palpable. Later, it morphed into a cold indifference. Even when he was called to the dean's office of Kai's new private school to pay for damages from another one of Kai's fights, Ethan barely glanced at him. Kai hadn't cared. His father's wealth guaranteed a lifetime of ease. But then, just as Kai started college, Arthur Vance died unexpectedly. Now, Ethan was in full control of the empire, the will conveniently tucked away, and Kai, a junior in college, had no realistic way of claiming his inheritance. He slammed his fist on the coffee table. These photos, he decided, were enough to cause Ethan a world of trouble. Sabotaging the merger was a start. Leo just shook his head, lamenting Kai's talent for self-destruction and making him promise not to mention his involvement when Ethan inevitably came calling. Despite the turmoil, A house rule established by their father persisted. No matter what, the family ate dinner together. Kai sat at the long mahogany table, silently eating his steak, stealing glances at the man opposite him. Ethan's expression was as impassive as ever. Kai found it perplexing. The photos should have reached the Suttons that morning. He expected Ethan to have endured a tirade, yet he sat there cool and composed. Ethan's posture was perfect, his movements precise. A man who had perfected the role of the ideal son for so long it had become his reality. Kai rolled his eyes internally. It was all an act, a performance to secure his grip on the Vance fortune. His fork scraped against the plate as he shredded a piece of asparagus. Ethan's brow furrowed slightly as he noticed. He instructed Kai to eat properly and not to waste food. The quiet command made Kai flinch and lose his appetite. Seeing Kai put down his fork, Ethan set aside his own cutlery, wiped his mouth with a linen napkin, and finally spoke. He wanted to know about the photos. Kai's body went rigid. Ethan's voice, though calm, carried an undeniable weight. Kai feigned ignorance, asking what photos he was talking about. As if anticipating the denial, Ethan produced a manila envelope from his briefcase and slapped it onto the table. Kai flinched. He asked if the Suttons had called. Ethan's voice took on a sharp edge as he revealed that he had intercepted the package before it ever reached them. Kai was stunned. His contact had delivered it directly to Mr. Sutton's executive assistant. Pointing to the image of Julian's arm around Kai, Ethan's voice turned cold as he demanded to know who the man was. Recalling Julian's encouraging words, Kai straightened his back and declared that the man was his boyfriend. Ethan's finger froze on the photograph. He looked at Kai, his gaze analytical, and asked if he was his boyfriend or just a male friend. The temperature in the room seemed to plummet. Taking a deep breath to steady his trembling legs, Kai retorted that his father was gone, and Ethan had no right to control him. Ethan gave a slight nod, the lenses of his glasses hiding the narrowing of his eyes. He asked what Kai had just called him. Kai flinched and mumbled the word brother. Ethan's expression softened almost imperceptibly. He reminded Kai that their father's dying wish was for him to look after his younger brother, a duty he intended to fulfill. He asked again about his relationship with the man in the photo. Facing that glacial stare, Kai's defiance crumbled. He admitted they were just friends. Seemingly satisfied, Ethan adjusted his cufflinks and informed him that Isabella Sutton's birthday party was the next evening. He had arranged for a gift to be delivered, and he expected Kai to be there on time. Kai started to protest, but the look in Ethan's eyes silenced him. All he could manage was a quiet okay. Later, in the VIP section of a deafening nightclub, Kai hurled a couch cushion to the floor in a fit of rage. Leo, with a woman on his arm, laughed at his friend's outburst, remarking that he'd be thrilled to have a brother as successful as Ethan. Kai cursed, reminding him they shared no blood. He was furious at how Ethan used his authority to dismiss him. Another friend, Chris, agreed with Leo, telling Kai he had no idea how good he had it. While Chris was drowning in corporate drudgery, Kai had Ethan to handle everything, leaving him free of responsibility. Kai slammed the table, demanding to know whose side they were on. An arm snaked around his neck. It was Julian. He told Kai not to be angry. He had a better idea for getting back at his brother. Julian was a recent addition to their circle, someone they'd met at a party. After Arthur Vance's death, the city's elite had shifted their focus from him to the two Vance brothers. Ethan despised the social scene, so the attention naturally fell on Kai. Men like Julian looking to curry favor were a common sight. But Julian was different. His family was prominent in their own right, and he had a natural charm and a reputation for helping out his friends. The photo scheme had been his idea. Kai took a long drink of his Coke, explaining that Ethan had intercepted the pictures. He asked what other plan Julian could possibly have. Julian's smile didn't waver. He explained that the photos were just an appetizer, not meant for the Suttons, but for Ethan himself. He leaned in, whispering that he'd heard Ethan was launching a new, privately funded company next month. He painted a picture for Kai. Imagine the look on Ethan's face if his new venture's stock plummeted on its opening day. Kai frowned and pushed him away, accusing him of trying to ruin the entire Vance family. He might despise Ethan, but he wasn't an idiot. Julian just shook his head, assuring Kai that the new company was entirely Ethan's, with no connection to Vance Enterprises. He planted a seed of doubt, asking if Kai wasn't worried that Ethan would slowly transfer all the valuable assets to his own company, leaving Kai with a hollowed-out corporation and worthless shares. The thought struck a nerve. It was plausible. Recalling Ethan's detached demeanor at dinner, a bitter feeling rose in Kai. Leo, noticing how close they were, made a teasing comment about them becoming a real couple. Julian, without missing a beat, draped his arm around Kai and played along. Ignoring the noise of the club, Kai pulled Julian into the adjoining restroom for privacy. He needed to know the details of the plan. Julian leaned against the marble counter, a sly grin on his face. He pressed Kai against the wall and whispered that Ethan cared deeply about his reputation. He asked him to imagine the fallout if Kai were to publicly announce he was gay in front of the press. The idea was audacious, and Kai hesitated. This wasn't a joke. If word got out, it could have real consequences. And would it really affect the new company's launch? The next day, he arrived at Isabella Sutton's birthday gala. The family driver handed him the gift, a diamond necklace worth a small fortune, and a bouquet of 999 red roses. Kai protested that the gesture was too extravagant for a relationship that didn't even exist. The driver simply relayed Ethan's strict instructions to deliver the gift personally. Resigned, Kai entered the grand ballroom, a glittering affair filled with industry titans and even a few movie stars. It felt less like a birthday party and more like a high-powered networking event. He spotted Isabella's mother and reluctantly approached her. Mrs. Sutton's face lit up when she saw him and the enormous bouquet, gushing about how thrilled Isabella would be. She pointed towards the second floor, explaining that Isabella was still getting ready and that he should go up to see her before the party got too crowded. Kai agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to speak with Isabella directly and clear the air. The second-floor corridor was quiet. As he neared a corner, he heard voices. It was Isabella, pleading with someone she called Ethan. She confessed she didn't like Kai and had always wanted to be with him. Ethan's voice was firm, telling her to maintain her composure. He was there to discuss business with her father. Just then, they rounded the corner and saw Kai standing there, the flowers clutched tightly in his hand. Ethan's steps faltered. A bitter smile spread across Kai's face. He accused Ethan of using him as a pawn to deflect a woman he wasn't interested in himself. He declared that if there was to be a marriage, Ethan could have it. He dropped the flowers and the gift to the floor and stormed away. Ethan called after him, ordering him to stop, but Kai ignored him, running down the stairs. Back in the ballroom, he saw Julian chatting with his father. Kai marched over, grabbed Julian by the arm, and apologized to his father for borrowing his son. He dragged a bewildered Julian towards the center of the room, right into the spotlight. The media, who had been photographing celebrities, swiveled their cameras towards them. Ethan, descending the stairs, saw them on the stage and froze, his eyes widening as he realized what Kai was about to do. Kai looked defiantly at Ethan. He wrapped an arm around Julian's neck, grinned at the cameras, and then, as the room fell silent, he kissed him. Julian, stunned, whispered a question. Kai held him tight, telling him this was the public announcement he had suggested. Julian understood instantly. Seeing Ethan and Isabella watching from the staircase, he sighed and told Kai they had to make it convincing. Before Kai could react, Julian deepened the kiss, and the ballroom erupted. Mrs. Sutton pushed through the crowd, her face a mask of disbelief, asking Kai if he had lost his mind on her daughter's birthday. Kai pushed Julian away, wiping his mouth. He looked past her, directly at the stony-faced Ethan, and announced that he was sorry, but he was gay. Just as Mrs. Sutton stood there, speechless, Ethan strode through the crowd and onto the stage. He yanked Kai away from Julian, his face a thundercloud. In a voice as cold as ice, he ordered Kai to apologize. Kai met his gaze, his voice ringing with defiance. He asked what he had done wrong. Ethan's eyes were dark with fury as he asked Kai if he had any idea what he had just done. Kai shot back that, after their father's death, everyone answered to Ethan. He taunted him, asking if he was upset because his plan to marry him off had failed. He declared that he was coming out, and there was nothing Ethan could do about it. Ethan stared at him for a long moment, then a chilling smile touched his lips. "Fine," he said. "Very well." He turned to the stunned crowd and apologized for the disruption, stating he had to deal with a family matter. Before Kai could process what was happening, Ethan grabbed his arm in a vice-like grip and dragged him out of the ballroom. This time, Kai's struggles were useless. He was forced into the car and driven home in suffocating silence, punctuated only by the incessant ringing of Ethan's phone as he coordinated a massive damage control effort with his PR team and executives. Back at the house, Ethan threw Kai onto the living room sofa. As Kai opened his mouth to scream, he saw Ethan remove his glasses and then unbuckle his belt. For the first time, Kai saw true, unrestrained anger in his brother's eyes. A tremor of fear ran through him as Ethan's hand, veins bulging, cracked the leather belt against the solid oak coffee table. Kai scrambled away, screaming at Ethan not to touch him, reminding him he was the heir. The man looked down at him and laughed, a humorless sound. He stalked towards him, closing the distance in 2 long strides. He grabbed Kai, pinning him down. Kai fought back wildly, but Ethan's strength was overwhelming. In the ensuing chaos, Ethan bound Kai's wrists with his own silk tie. The realization hit Kai. The quiet, scholarly man was an illusion. This was the real Ethan. Ethan hauled him upright into a kneeling position on the sofa. "Look at me," he commanded. Kai slowly opened his eyes to a face devoid of its usual composure, replaced by a raw, chilling fury. Ethan asked him again about the man, Julian. Spurred by the memory of Isabella calling Ethan's name, Kai spat back that Julian was his boyfriend. Ethan's gaze dropped to Kai's neck, to a faint mark Julian had left there for show. His face darkened instantly. He flipped Kai over, pressing him face down into the sofa cushions. The first strike of the belt was sharp and searing, a line of fire across his backside. Kai screamed in pain and outrage, but Ethan held him fast. He demanded Kai repeat his claim. Through tears of pain and humiliation, Kai choked out that Julian was his boyfriend, even if Ethan beat him to death. Another strike landed, harder than the first. The pain was excruciating. The humiliation was worse. He started screaming insults, calling Ethan a bastard, vowing to call the police and ruin him. Ethan's only reply was another cold laugh and the whistle of the belt through the air. The pain finally broke him, and the defiant rage dissolved into sobs. He cried that he hated him, that he didn't want to get married, that even his own father had never hit him. At the sound of his ragged sobs, the assault stopped. Kai curled into a ball, shaking. A moment later, the sofa dipped as Ethan sat beside him. He gently pulled Kai across his lap. Kai tensed, expecting another blow, but Ethan's voice was low as he told him to be still. The punishment was over. Then came a sudden coolness as Ethan pulled down his pants. A moment later, a soothing medicinal ointment was being gently applied to the burning welts. After a long, tense silence, Ethan asked if he understood what he had done wrong. Kai mumbled that he had done nothing wrong. Ethan's hand paused. He asked if Kai had any idea who was at the gala that night. He then asked if Kai knew his new company had just gone public. As his hand pressed down firmly on a particularly painful spot, Kai cried out. Leaning close, his voice a low whisper in Kai's ear, Ethan explained that because of his little stunt, the company's stock had gone into a freefall. The pain and the gravity of Ethan's words finally sank in. Kai remembered how hard Ethan worked, the all-nighters, the endless reports. He remembered once, drunk, he had vomited all over Ethan's laptop, destroying a critical report. Ethan hadn't even raised his voice, but their father had, slapping Ethan so hard he fell. And even then, Ethan had remained silent. That he was this angry now over this company. It must have been his. Kai mumbled that it wasn't Vance Enterprises, it was Ethan's own company. Ethan's voice was laced with scorn. He questioned how Kai, who barely attended classes and didn't even know where the main office was, could possibly know which company was which. He then asked if Kai wanted to work at the company. He promised to teach him everything after he graduated. Kai scoffed internally, assuming it was a trick to hand him a bankrupt shell. Ethan sighed, changing the subject. He asked when Kai had started liking men. He questioned his relationship with Julian, his voice growing colder with every denial Kai uttered. He mocked Kai's boasts of romantic conquests, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Then, his hand moved from Kai's back to his waist, a light touch that sent a jolt through Kai's body. He leaned in, his voice a low growl. Since Kai wanted to play games, he would teach him how a real man plays. A minute later, burning with a shame deeper than any physical pain, Kai finally snapped. He twisted around, slapping Ethan hard across the face. He launched himself at his brother, landing a flurry of desperate, ineffective punches. Ethan didn't retaliate until Kai's hand brushed against something hard in his pocket. Ethan's eyes darkened, and he grabbed Kai's wrist. Let go. Kai, defiant, refused. The final string of Ethan's control snapped. He flipped them over, hoisting Kai over his shoulder and carrying him towards the bedroom. Kai's protests were cut short as he was thrown onto the bed, the impact sending waves of pain through his bruised body. Ethan was on him in an instant, one hand closing around his neck, not to choke, but to hold him still. He brought his face close, his eyes like chips of ice. He agreed that he was a bastard, an outsider, but he had planned for Kai's future, protected him, even brokered the Sutton merger to secure a powerful ally for Kai, ensuring his future would be safe even if Ethan wasn't around. He saw that Kai didn't understand. He explained that his new company wasn't a betrayal. It was a lifeboat. The Vance Corporation had been vulnerable since their father's death, with rivals like Julian's family poaching top executives. The new venture was a strategic move to protect their assets. He had planned for everything, he hissed, everything except for the fact that the person he was protecting was a backstabbing little fool. The pressure on his neck increased right over the mark from Julian. Ethan's voice dropped to a husky whisper. Too late. 3 days later, Kai was a prisoner in his own room. The door was locked, his ankle shackled to the bedpost with a thin, cold chain. Ethan had become a monster, an unpredictable force of nature. He brought food, but Kai refused to eat or drink. When Ethan entered the room, holding a bowl of kanji, Kai kicked at him, showing him the chain and demanding to be released. Ethan ignored him, telling him to eat. In a surge of fury, Kai knocked the bowl from his hand, splattering hot kanji over Ethan's arm. Ethan didn't even flinch. After the mess was cleaned, Ethan grabbed the chain and pulled Kai to the edge of the bed. "It seems," he said softly, "that I've been far too lenient with you." As he leaned over him, Kai panicked and shouted that he needed the bathroom. Ethan released him, but when he tried to follow him inside, Kai slammed the door and locked it. Ethan's voice came from the other side, ordering him to open it. Kai retorted that he was taking a shower. Ethan warned him about his wounds getting infected. Ignoring him, Kai turned on the shower, then climbed onto the toilet and slid open the small bathroom window. The second-story drop was manageable. There was an air conditioning unit just below. With a grunt of pain, he swung his leg over the sill and jumped. He landed silently and scrambled down, making his way to a small service gate by the garage. He found a bicycle parked there and pedaled away furiously, not looking back. He was halfway down the long, winding road leading away from the estate when a black sedan passed him, then made a U-turn and pulled up alongside. The window rolled down to reveal Julian. He said he'd been trying to reach him, asking what he'd been doing for 3 days. Relief washed over Kai. He ditched the bike and scrambled into the car, telling the driver to take him to Leo's place. He told Julian that Ethan had gone insane, nearly skinning him alive. Julian looked him over, noting his disheveled state. He agreed that Ethan must have been furious, and that his plan had clearly worked. As Kai glanced out the rear window, he wondered aloud why his coming out would cause Ethan's stock to crash. Julian explained that the Sutton family was the second largest investor in Ethan's new company. The marriage was the bedrock of their partnership. With the engagement shattered, the partnership was broken, and other investors had panicked. Kai laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. It was all about business. He felt a pang of guilt for dragging Julian into his mess, but Julian brushed it off, saying they were friends. He advised against going to Leo's, pointing out that Leo's family was too dependent on Ethan. Instead, he suggested they disappear for a while to his aunt's private island resort, a place where Ethan could never find them. Hesitant but desperate, Kai agreed. The private beach was an entire island. Julian's aunt, a beautiful, charming woman, greeted them warmly before leaving on a business trip. For a day, it was paradise. They surfed, raced ATVs, and watched the sunset. But the salt water and sun inflamed the welts on Kai's back. That evening, as Julian carefully applied ointment to the wounds, he remarked on the brutality of the beating. He suggested that Kai should just give Ethan the inheritance and escape with his life. Kai refused. He was going to fight to the end. Julian's eyes lingered for a moment on a faint mark on Kai's thigh. "Did he bite you?" he asked quietly. Kai just grunted in affirmation. That night, Julian took him night fishing on a yacht, far from the island. Under a blanket of stars, surrounded by the vast, dark ocean, Kai commented on how isolated they were. Julian, baiting a hook, just smiled. Kai asked if Julian's family was the only one powerful enough to challenge Ethan. Julian demurred, saying the Vance dynasty had roots far deeper than his own family's. Kai lamented that all that power was in Ethan's hands. Suddenly, Kai felt a massive tug on his line. He yelled for Julian's help. As Julian came up behind him, ostensibly to help reel it in, he whispered, I wonder if this one will taste any good. Then, with a sudden, violent shove, he sent Kai flying towards the railing. Kai's fingers closed around the cool metal bar just in time, his lower body dangling over the black water. He looked back at Julian, bewildered, accusing him of nearly pushing him in. Julian apologized, claiming he slipped, and extended a hand, but stopped just short of Kai's grasp. He squatted down, his friendly mask gone, replaced by a chilling emptiness. He asked Kai if he knew why Ethan had wanted him to marry Isabella Sutton. It was because the Suttons were the Vance's oldest allies. With them as family, Kai's future, and the company's, would have been secure forever. Kai, his strength failing, didn't understand why he was talking about this now. A dark premonition began to form. Julian's family had poached executives from Vance. This was never about helping Kai. Julian finally grabbed Kai's hand, and for a second, Kai felt relief. But then Julian's smile turned into a cold sneer. "You're the sole legal heir, Kai," he said. "If you were to die, do you think your long-lost little brother might finally have a chance?" Kai stared, dumbfounded. Then Julian's fingers uncurled, releasing their grip. As Kai plunged into the icy ocean, the last thing he saw was Julian's triumphant face, and the last thing he heard was, "Goodbye, brother." The cold shocked the air from his lungs. He surfaced, sputtering, and saw the yacht already turning away. He screamed Julian's name, demanding an explanation, but the boat just grew smaller, a disappearing light in the crushing darkness. Ethan was right. Julian had been playing him from the start. He was a fool. As his limbs grew heavy and the salt water filled his mouth, his consciousness began to fade. He thought he saw another light, heard the thrum of an engine. A hallucination, he thought, before the ocean finally claimed him. He awoke to the violent pressure of someone pressing on his chest, the feeling of breath being forced into his lungs. He coughed up salt water, his whole body aching. He opened his eyes to see Ethan, soaked and frantic, his face pale with terror. It wasn't a dream. Ethan pulled him into a desperate hug, his voice shaking as he apologized for pushing him too far. Kai, limp in his arms, said it wasn't his fault. It was Julian. He called himself Kai's brother, and he had tried to kill him for the inheritance. Ethan's arms tightened, a murderous promise in his low voice that Julian would pay. On the helicopter ride back, the reality of his rescue sank in. Ethan had come for him. Back in his own bed, safe, Kai finally understood. Ethan had never wanted him dead. A few days later, Ethan entered his room with a briefcase. He told Kai he had a team of lawyers building a case against Julian's family. Then he placed a stack of documents on the bed. He explained that their father's will had never been notarized. There were 2 identical copies, one named Kai, the other named Lucas Vance. A copy of a birth certificate showed a boy born 3 years after Kai. Mother, Penelope Croft. Father, Arthur Vance. Penelope Croft was Julian's aunt, and Lucas Vance was Julian. The truth was a cold wave. His father had another son, but Penelope's family had demanded an outrageous 50% of the company to release him, so he had remained with them under a different name. Arthur's plan to bring Kai home was a desperate move to have an heir when he couldn't reclaim his other son. The unsigned will was a relic of that conflict. With the will invalid, the company had passed to Ethan, the only person Arthur trusted. Julian, not knowing this, had targeted Kai. Kai sagged against the pillows, a hollow laugh escaping him. After everything, he had nothing. He was just a pawn. But Ethan shook his head. "I gave you my word," he said. "When you graduate, I will teach you. Until you are ready to take over Vance Enterprises." 3 years passed. Kai, now a graduate student at Ethan's alma mater, sat in his office at Vance Enterprises, poring over quarterly reports. After the incident with Julian, he had dedicated himself to his studies, driven by a new purpose. Ethan had been true to his word, mentoring him, teaching him the business from the ground up. He'd heard through Leo that Julian's family had suffered a catastrophic collapse, their company dismantled and absorbed by rivals. He knew it was Ethan's work, but a new, unsettling feeling had been growing in him. Ethan was handing over more and more responsibility, pushing him into the spotlight, preparing him for a future that felt too imminent. One night, a deep, rattling cough from the living room woke him. He found Ethan leaning against a wall, struggling for breath. Ethan dismissed it, but a moment later, Kai heard a heavy thud from the bathroom. He burst in to find Ethan collapsed on the floor, his face ashen, a spray of blood on his pale lips. At the hospital, the doctor delivered the devastating news. Ethan had been diagnosed with lung cancer 10 years ago. An operation paid for by Arthur Vance had sent it into remission. Now it had returned aggressively. Kai staggered back, the world tilting. 10 years ago, before Kai had even come to live with them, Ethan had been sick all this time. His brilliance, his drive, it wasn't for power. It was a race against time, a desperate attempt to repay the man who had saved his life by securing a future for that man's son. Kai sat by Ethan's bedside, watching his shallow breathing. He finally understood the panic in Ethan's eyes when he'd almost drowned, the urgency in his lessons. He took Ethan's hand. Ethan's eyes fluttered open. "You're crying again," he rasped. "I didn't even hit you." Kai asked if this was what he meant all those years ago when he said he might not be around. A faint, tired smile touched Ethan's lips. He told Kai he wasn't a child anymore, that he had to be ready to walk the path alone. Kai shook his head, his voice cracking. "I won't. I can't do it without you." His parents were gone. He couldn't lose Ethan too. As Ethan started coughing again, monitors began to shriek. Doctors rushed in, and Kai was pushed out as they wheeled the bed towards the operating room. A nurse thrust a consent form into his trembling hands. He signed his name through a blur of tears. 5 years later, Mr. Vance, the quarterly financials. Kai gestured towards a space on his massive desk without looking up. "Leave them. The office was a fortress of paperwork. And you're 3 o'clock with the board, sir. The driver is waiting." "I know. Give me an hour." When the assistant had gone, Kai took off his glasses and rubbed his weary eyes. A voice came from the sofa in the corner. Overwhelmed already, Kai walked over and collapsed next to the man reading a book. "My day starts at 6 a.m. with calls from Tokyo and ends after midnight with emails from London. How did you do this for so long?" The man put his book down. He reached over, his fingers gently massaging Kai's temples. "Because every night, I knew I was coming home to you." Kai felt a flush creep up his neck. "Don't be ridiculous. If people heard the great Ethan Vance saying things like that, they'd laugh." Ethan smiled, a real warm smile that reached his eyes. He leaned in, his face close. "There is no more Ethan Vance, corporate titan. The only one they'll be talking about," he whispered, his lips brushing against Kai's ear, "is you, Mr. Vance." He then bit down gently on Kai's neck. "Ethan." Ethan covered his mouth with a hand, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Shoo. You don't want the staff to hear."